Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to dive deep into the fascinating world of the Washington quarter dollar, a coin that has been minted since 1932 and remains one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in American history, representing not only a piece of daily commerce but also a window into the nation's political, artistic, and cultural shifts over nearly a century. And as we unfold this long journey, you will discover why the Washington quarter is not just a simple 25-cent coin but instead a collectible that carries stories of design controversies, silver composition, clad transitions, era varieties, rare dates, and even modern programs like the Bicentennial, Statehood Quarters, and America the Beautiful Quarters, all of which together make the Washington quarter one of the richest collecting fields in United States numismatics. So let us begin with its origin back in 1932 when the U.S. Treasury and Congress decided to issue a new quarter dollar to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, originally meant as a one-year commemorative coin but which became so popular it was adopted for general use permanently, and for this design the government first considered using the portrait created by Laura Garden Fraser, a well-respected female sculptor who had already designed several notable medals and coins. But in a controversial decision, Secretary of the Treasury Andrew Mellon rejected Fraser's elegant design, and instead selected John Flanagan's portrait of Washington, a decision that has long been debated by historians and collectors who generally agree that Fraser's work was stronger artistically, yet Flanagan's bust of George Washington became the face of the quarter for decades, featuring the first president in profile on the obverse with the word "Liberty" above, the motto "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date below, while the reverse displayed an eagle with spread wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing strength and peace, and the coin was struck in 90% silver and 10% copper from 1932 until 1964, giving it an attractive luster and intrinsic value tied to the bullion market, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and weight of 6.25 grams, making it a substantial and durable coin. And the early years produced some key rarities, especially the 1932 D and 1932 S quarters, both of which had very low mintages compared to other issues, with the Denver Mint producing just 436,800 coins and the San Francisco Mint only 408,000 coins, numbers far smaller than typical mintages that ran into the millions, and as a result these two coins remain among the most sought-after key dates in the series, with values in circulated grades often hundreds of dollars and in uncirculated mint state levels reaching thousands, particularly in grades MS65 and above, making them essential targets for serious Washington quarter collectors. And through the 1930s and 1940s the series continued with annual issues that generally had higher mintages, though wartime economic conditions in the early 1940s sometimes limited coinage demand, and throughout these decades the Washington quarter became a workhorse of U.S. commerce, circulating widely across the country and embedding itself into the everyday lives of Americans buying gas, groceries, and other necessities. And by the 1950s and early 1960s, Washington quarters were being minted in the tens and hundreds of millions, filling cash registers and piggy banks nationwide, yet all these coins retained the intrinsic value of their silver content, which would become crucial in the mid-1960s when rising silver prices began to threaten the ability of the U.S. Mint to produce coins at a profit, leading to the historic shift in 1965 from silver to clad composition, as the Coinage Act of 1965 removed silver from quarters and dimes, replacing them with a copper-nickel clad composition of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, reducing the weight from 6.25 grams to 5.67 grams, a change that angered many traditionalists but was necessary to maintain the stability of U.S. coinage, and thus from 1965 onward the Washington quarter no longer contained silver for circulation, though 40% silver bicentennial versions and later 90% silver collector issues would be produced in special mint sets, and this marked the beginning of the modern clad era that continues today. But before we move too far ahead, we should not overlook the fact that silver Washington quarters from 1932 to 1964 remain highly collectible and valuable, both for their silver bullion content and for their numismatic premium in higher grades, with many issues from the 1940s and 1950s still affordable for new collectors but pristine uncirculated pieces commanding significant premiums, especially with attractive toning or full mint luster, and certified examples graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC can bring hundreds of dollars depending on date and condition, while certain double die errors, repunched mint marks, and other varieties can push values even higher, showing that even common-looking silver quarters might hide valuable treasures. And the story continues in 1976 when the nation celebrated its bicentennial and Congress authorized a redesign of the quarter's reverse for that year, replacing the eagle with Jack L. R's depiction of a colonial drummer with a torch of Victory encircled by 13 stars, while the obverse still carried Washington's portrait but with the dual date 1776 to 1976, and these bicentennial quarters were struck in both clad for circulation and in 40% silver for collectors, making them extremely popular at the time and still beloved today, though common in circulated condition, with uncirculated silver versions and high-grade clad pieces fetching strong premiums, especially in MS-67 or higher, and continuing into the late 20th century. The Washington quarter remained steady until 1999 when the U.S. Mint launched one of the most ambitious coin programs in history, the 50-state quarters program, which featured unique reverse designs for each of the 50 states issued over a 10-year period from 1999 to 2008, a program that reignited public interest in coin collecting and brought millions of new hobbyists into the field, making the Washington quarter once again a cultural phenomenon as children, parents, and collectors alike searched their pocket change to complete the full set of 50 designs. And while most circulated state quarters are only worth face value, high-grade mint state coins, proof versions, and error varieties such as off-center strikes, double dies, and wrong planchet errors can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and some of the most notable include the 2004 D Wisconsin quarter with an extra leaf variety on the cornstalk, available in both extra high leaf and extra low leaf varieties, which have sold for hundreds or even thousands depending on condition, cementing their place as modern rarities. And after the state quarters ended, the U.S. Mint launched the D.C. and U.S. Territories program in 2009, followed by the America the Beautiful Quarters program from 2010 to 2021, which featured reverse designs honoring national parks and historic sites in each state and territory. Another massive series that further expanded the scope of Washington quarters, culminating in 56 different designs that kept collectors busy for over a decade. And then in 2022, the Mint launched the American Women Quarters program featuring 5 new designs per year honoring influential women in U.S. history, continuing the Washington quarter legacy into a new century with fresh designs and renewed attention from collectors. So the Washington Quarter Dollar series truly spans from classic silver coins of the 1930s to modern clad commemoratives of today, offering something for every collector at every budget. And when we talk about value, it is important to note that while most circulated clad quarters are worth only face value, the key silver issues like 1932 D and 1932 S, high-grade 1930s and 1940s coins, rare varieties, and error coins can be worth significant sums, with auction records reaching into the tens of thousands for top-graded key dates, for example a 1932 D Washington quarter graded MS-66 by PCGS has sold for over $80,000 at auction, and similarly superb 1932 S examples have achieved prices in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, while modern error coins like off-center bicentennial quarters or double-denominated state quarters have realized thousands of dollars at auction, proving that whether you are searching through silver rolls, inspecting clad pocket change, or buying certified coins, Washington quarters offer endless opportunities for discovery and profit, and beyond value. The Washington quarter remains a beloved symbol of U.S. coinage, carrying the face of the first president across decades of history and serving as a canvas for America's most ambitious commemorative coin programs, making it a centerpiece of modern numismatics and a must-have for collectors of all levels. And so when you hold a Washington quarter, whether it is a worn 1943 silver piece, a shiny bicentennial drummer, or a modern state quarter pulled fresh from circulation, you are holding not just 25 cents but a piece of American heritage that links generations together through the stories, artistry, and history captured in this simple yet profound coin. And that is why the Washington quarter continues to inspire fascination, collection, and investment even after nearly a century of production. The Washington quarter dollar, after nearly a century of production, is more than just a circulating coin. It is a mirror reflecting the evolution of American society, artistry, minting technology, and numismatic culture. And in this concluding part, we go beyond the simple overview to dig deeper into the extraordinary specifics that have made this coin one of the most widely collected and researched pieces of U.S. currency. Because while most Americans think of the quarter as an everyday coin to feed into vending machines, parking meters, or toll booths, collectors know that buried in its long history are countless rarities, hidden varieties, and unique opportunities for investment that transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into a valuable treasure. And when you consider the full span of production from 1932 through the modern American women quarters, it is almost overwhelming how many stories and special issues exist within this single denomination, from low mintage silver issues of the early years to error coins that slipped through the presses unnoticed, to record-breaking auction sales that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. So let's examine the most exciting highlights in more depth, beginning with key date coins, because every series has its key dates that define its rarity and desirability, and in the Washington Quarter series one of the most famous is the 1932 D and 1932 S, the first year of issues struck in far lower numbers compared to Philadelphia, with the Denver issue seeing just 436,800 minted and the San Francisco issue at 408,000, and despite those numbers being higher than ultra-rarities like the 1909 SVD Cent, they remain scarce in higher grades, with uncirculated examples commanding thousands of dollars and top-quality pieces bringing tens of thousands at auction, making them must-haves for serious collectors, while another group of highly prized issues comes from the 1930s and 1940s where mintages dipped and survival rates in mint condition are low, and we can't forget the 1950 D/S over mintmark variety, one of the most dramatic errors where a Denver mintmark was punched over a San Francisco mintmark, creating a doubled appearance that fascinates variety specialists, with certified examples in high grades bringing thousands, and then of course there are the double dies, like the famous 1934 double die obverse where, "In God We Trust," shows strong doubling, and the 1950 double die reverse where the eagle's tail feathers and lettering appear doubled, both commanding premium values when authenticated, and perhaps the most famous error quarter of all time is the 1937 double die obverse, an instantly recognizable variety that collectors dream of owning, while later in the clad era you have transitional errors such as the rare 1965 silver quarter, struck on leftover 90% silver planchets during the transition to clad coinage, with known examples selling for over $7,000 depending on condition. And similarly you find the 1970 S-proof Washington quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter, an outrageous mint error that sold for over $35,000 at auction, showing how mint mix-ups can create legendary pieces. And in 1976 for the Bicentennial celebration, the special drummer boy reverse became iconic, and while billions were produced, special silver-clad collector versions and high-grade deep cameo proofs carry strong premiums, and gem examples certified by PCGS or NGC can bring hundreds to thousands, with one MS-69 silver Bicentennial quarter selling for over $19,000, astonishing for such a recent coin, while the modern state quarters, 1999 to 2008, and America the Beautiful series, 2010 to 2021, also brought excitement, because despite massive mintages, error coins like off-center strikes, double dies, or wrong planchet pieces can sell for hundreds or thousands, and one notable rarity is the 2004 D Wisconsin Extra Leaf Quarter, which comes in high leaf and low leaf varieties due to an extra leaf on the ear of corn, with examples selling for $500 to $1,500 depending on grade, and then you have modern stunners like the 2019 W quarters, struck with the West Point mint mark and released directly into circulation to stir collector excitement, with low mintages of just $2 million per design making them instant modern key dates, and early finds in mint state condition bringing hundreds of dollars even today, while pristine MS-68 examples are worth thousands, proving that even today's change can hold treasure, and the Washington Quarter has also set records at auction, with the single highest price ever paid going to the 1932 D in MS-66, which realized over $143,750, and silver proofs from the 1950s and 1960s with deep cameo surfaces have sold for 5 figures. And these auctions reinforce that quality combined with rarity drives the market, but beyond rarity, the quarter's enduring appeal lies in its design, because John Flanagan original portrait of George Washington, despite criticism and later modifications, has become one of the most recognizable images in U.S. coinage, a national symbol that survived for over 65 years before being replaced by the state quarters program, and even then Washington remained on the obverse, modified by William Cousins, proving the strength of the original concept, while the reverses over time, from the eagle to the drummer boy, the 50 states, America the Beautiful landmarks, and now the American women quarters, show how a single denomination can act as a canvas for national identity, history, and art, making the Washington Quarter not just money but a miniature museum of American culture, and the sheer variety across the decades makes collecting them appealing to both beginners and advanced numismatists, with options ranging from inexpensive circulated examples to condition rarities worth tens of thousands. And when you add in the thrill of hunting for errors and varieties, it's no wonder that the Washington Quarter remains one of the most beloved U.S. coins of all time. So whether you are just starting your coin collecting journey or you are an advanced specialist chasing registry set quality pieces, the Washington Quarter series offers a lifetime of study, enjoyment, and potential value, and that is the true legacy of this extraordinary coin, which has endured for nearly a century and shows no sign of losing relevance in the hobby, because each year new discoveries, new auctions, and new varieties continue to keep the Washington Quarter in the spotlight, proving that this simple 25-cent piece holds stories and treasures beyond imagination. So always check your change, study the details, and you may be the one to uncover the next great Washington quarter rarity. And with that, we conclude this long and detailed journey through the history, varieties, values, and legacy of the Washington quarter dollar, a coin that remains a shining pillar of U.S. numismatics. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share to support more rare coin videos, and stay tuned for more fascinating discoveries in the world of coins.